Hey everybody, welcome to the October Ask Tom Database Security Office Hours. My name is Richard Evans. I'm a product manager of Oracle Database Security, and I'm not joined by Peter Wahl today. I'm joined by Michael Mesaros, the Director of Database Security Product Management. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for filling in for Peter today. And Michael will be giving the presentation today on Oracle Key Vault. This call is being recorded. It will be available, in a week or so after the event. You can go to bit.ly/asktomdbsec for that link. And we've got 4 years or so of recordings out there. So there's bound to be something that piques your interest in database security land. So if there's something we haven't covered and you want to hear it, please let us know. Reach out to us in chat or Q&A, or I'll share my email. Let us know, because we're always looking for more topics on database security. This is your first time joining us, welcome. This is our monthly Database Security Office Hours. We do this on the second Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. U.S. Central, which means that next month it'll still be 10 a.m. for me, but it might change for you depending on daylight savings. We try to keep it consistent, at least in one time zone. And we always start with announcements, kind of what's going on. We have a technical topic, which Michael will deliver on Key Vault's capabilities. And then we have some time at the end for Q&A. You can ask questions about anything. I can't guarantee I'll be able to answer them, but we can always follow up with you and take them offline too. So announcements. I have a GitHub repository that I've been working on for 18 months now. I'll share that in the Zoom chat. And it is basically anything and everything that we talk about today. So it's hopefully just the cheat sheet for you. So links, so you don't have to worry about taking down those links, but you can use the QR codes where I've put them. Links to documentation, links to support notes, links to code if we have any samples. Any of that stuff is available on this GitHub repository that we've got out there. We always talk about patching. Every month we harp on patching. You can patch the Oracle database monthly now. At the very least, please apply those quarterly release updates, those RUs, to stay on top of bug fixes, security fixes, performance improvements, all the things that are incorporated in there. I always say hackers are inherently lazy. No matter what software vendor puts out a patch, the first thing they do is they look at the patch and they go, oh, so that's the problem. Then you see that uptick in exploits and attacks against that known vulnerability. So please stay on top of any of these patches. We release them quarterly. If you're using real application clusters, rack, you can do fleet patching and provisioning, which hopefully makes it a little easier to patch your grid infrastructure as well as your database. And then, as always, Michael and I, we go to Mike Dietrich's blog and we look at the latest on patching and upgrades from MikeDietrichDE.com. Okay. Another thing we've harped on all year is traditional auditing to unified auditing. With 23C, traditional auditing is de-supported. Your existing policies will still work, but you can't modify them. You can't create new policies. We want you to move to unified auditing because it's a very robust capability. You've got the opportunity to use this context or maybe component level auditing. You could do top level auditing only, where, look, we just want to know if this procedure was executed. We don't need to audit every select insert update in that procedure. We just want to know if the procedure was executed or not. You can do exceptions. One of the things I want to highlight here is we've got a My Oracle support note out there that gives you a syntax converter. Now, it's pretty rudimentary, right? Because we don't know what you want to audit or what your plans are. But we can convert the existing traditional audit syntax to the new unified audit syntax, and this converter will help you with that. So it's a good opportunity for you, your customers, your organization to look at what you're auditing and say, okay, let's refine this a little bit with some of what unified auditing can do. Let's get this audit data into Oracle Audit Vault and Database Firewall. Let's get this audit data into Oracle Data Safe maybe. So that way you can centralize it and then get alerts and, really improve what you're looking for out of your audit policy. Speaking of kind of audit policies and security in Data Safe, we have a limited availability program that you're welcome to join. If you're interested in trying out 23C, SQL Firewall, and Oracle Data Safe together, then you can file a service request to gain access to this. You can work with Michael, with Bettina, and with the product management and development team to understand what our goals are with SQL Firewall and Oracle Data Safe, and then kind of add some influence and provide us some feedback on that. So good opportunity to get in on the ground floor on some cool things we're doing with Data Safe and SQL Firewall in 23C. Okay. Key Vault. Peter always points me to the documentation. I say, hey, Peter, we've got these My Oracle support notes. And he's like, no, point them to the documentation. We want it to be publicly accessible. We want them to be able to go to that one place and look and find how to use Key Vault, how to use TDE. And so please start with the documentation. So Oracle Key Vault documentation is robust. If there are errors, if there's mistakes, if there's things that aren't clear, please file feedback. Like, we look at these documents until we're blue in the face, and we scroll past typos. There was a typo in the database vault documentation for years until somebody pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh my goodness, how did I miss that? Right? Like, we just look at it so much. We appreciate your outside eyes to give us feedback on the documentation as well as the support notes. But let's make sure our documentation is up to date. When Key Vault 21.7 is released, which should be in the near term, very, very near term, you'll be able to download the fresh install from the eDelivery, the software delivery cloud. You'll be able to download the upgrade patch from My Oracle support. Key Vault will be available and is, but the 21.7 will be available on the OCI marketplace for you to install in your tenancy. Peter's got a cool video out there on how to deploy that in the tenancy. And then we've got a hands-on lab as well for you to get your hands on Oracle Key Vault 21. So you can play with it in our lab environment. And speaking of that lab environment, we've got over 40 security-related labs on Oracle LiveLabs. There's a QR code there that you can use to get to it. You can do transparent data encryption, you can do Key Vault, you can do Audit Vault, you can do data masking, you can do database vaults, you can do virtual private database, you can do TLS encryption. I mean, we've just got so many cool labs out there for you to use on Oracle's dime in our environment. Not all of them are that way, but we try to make it accessible for you to run as what we call a green button, where you can just press it, get logged in 20 minutes or so, and then have 3 or 4 hours to play with the technology and get your hands on it and learn it. So please take advantage of that, especially with TDE and Oracle Key Vault. Another opportunity for you to learn is coming up here on November 15th. Hakeem, our product manager of data masking and subsetting, is going to be doing a Oracle Tech Lounge event here called Creating Realistic Masked Data with Oracle Data Masking and Subsetting. So another opportunity for you to learn and understand what the capabilities of Oracle Security are. And then you can go to LiveLabs and get your hands on data masking as well, too. But UK time for that one, 10 a.m. UK time, November 15th. So if you'd like to sign up for that, you're welcome to go to that link, the QR code, and I've included this as well in my GitHub repository, which I'll share with you guys here again.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Mesaros. I'm on the product management team here for Oracle Database Security, and my colleague and I put together this presentation. Peter Wahl. Peter Wahl is the product manager for Oracle TDE and Oracle Key Vault, and he's really the expert on these products and areas. I know enough to be dangerous, so as Rich alluded earlier, feel free to ask any questions you like in the chat or what have you, or afterwards, and we'll try to answer them for you. And any that we can't answer, I will put on Peter's plate, and he will get back to you. So that said, as Rich mentioned, Oracle Key Vault is going to be released, we believe, soon. However, it is not yet a released product. So be aware that we may be talking about features for future products that may change. So I'll talk a little bit today about just the general problem of encrypting databases and why you want to centralize your key management. Next, I thought we'd talk very briefly about cloud database integration. These are some new integrations that we have for cloud databases, and a little bit around the use cases for those. And then finally, the bulk of the presentation, I'd like to talk about a new capability that we've introduced with Oracle Key Vault to provide SSH key management, and how our users can take advantage of Oracle Key Vault to manage their SSH keys. So let's begin. Hopefully, most of you are familiar with transparent data encryption. Transparent data encryption, or TDE, is Oracle's solution for encrypting database data at rest. And the idea is that it blocks out-of-band access attempts to data. So if someone gains access to the disk, to the operating system, to backups, perhaps physical media that's been transported off-site containing database backups and so on, those are all encrypted with transparent data encryption. And it's quite a mature product. We've had this for probably 15 years. And it allows you to encrypt tables and columns. Today, sort of the standard is AES 256 encryption. Transparent data encryption is designed to be, as we said, transparent. So it generally doesn't require any application changes, works with very low performance overhead. We have a number of migration options, so you can opt to do a very fast offline migration or do online migrations. And a real sort of key feature of transparent data encryption is the integration that we've provided with Oracle technology. So if you're using HCC or compression or Exadata or DataGuard or so on, it all works transparently with transparent data encryption. So we believe everyone should be encrypting. Sort of the devils in the details, I guess, with encryption is that you have to manage the keys. And transparent data encryption, Oracle TDE, has a two-tier encryption key architecture. So the way TDE works is we have table space keys and table keys, which are inside the database. And these are the keys that actually encrypt the data in the database. Now, those keys, in turn, are encrypted by a master key. And so the data encryption keys, there's really, a user has no interaction with those. Those are created and managed inside the database automatically. What the user does need to manage and worry about is the master key. So this is the master key that is encrypting these data encryption keys that are inside the database. And really, the reason we do that is to make encryption of data manageable. You have just one master key for your database that you use to decrypt. If you need to change that key, rotate that key, what have you, there's just one key that needs to be changed. You don't have to re-encrypt all the data in your database. If you're talking about a multi-terabyte database, that's a huge benefit. So using TDE involves managing the master key. How are you going to do that? Well, you have two options, basically. Sort of the default option is to store your keys in an encrypted Oracle wallet on the server that hosts the database. And that's sort of a common way that people use Oracle TDE. Another way you can do it is store and manage your keys centrally. And Oracle has two options for that. we have Oracle Key Vault, and we have OCI Vault. So why do you want to centralize your key management? Well, there's some very clear advantages to this. It allows you to manage your encrypted assets at scale. By centralizing, you have one sort of repository and management interface and so on that you can use to manage all your keys across these different encrypted assets, including TDE databases. A requirement that we see from a lot of regulations is that the encrypted keys be kept separate from the servers hosting the encrypted data. So if you're storing your TDE key in an encrypted wallet on the server, technically that key is on the server where the encrypted data resides. That's something that many regulations don't allow or don't like. Centralizing your keys into a key service allows you to separate those keys from the servers. Another advantage of centralized key management is there are many instances where you need to share keys across rack instances, for instance, standby databases, if you're running Golden Gate or hot standby databases and that sort of thing. You need to have the ability to share keys, and moving wallets around on different servers can get very tedious and error prone. And finally, centralizing key management allows you to have better key governance and security. So your keys can be backed up, they can be managed. You don't want to lose keys. So those are the advantages of centralized key management. What are the requirements? Of course, these keys have to be kept secret. If you disclose a key, then anybody who has that key can decrypt your data and see your data. So you don't want that. You want to keep your keys safe and secure from disclosure. High availability. If you're storing your keys in a central repository and all your databases are using that central service and it's not available, eventually your systems are going to stop working because they can't access keys. So it's critical that availability be very high. Zero loss. So if you rotate a key, you never want to lose a key. So you need to have protocols and design considerations to make sure that doesn't happen. Many of our customers have thousands of databases. I know some of the customers on the call right now that have databases numbering in the thousands, and managing TDE or across these databases is also a requirement. And then finally, latency and fast response times. So when a database requests a key, if that key cannot be delivered within a certain window of time, it can cause problems in the database. In fact, the database can crash if it happens enough. And so keys need to be not just available, but they need to be accessed with, I should say accessible with very low lag times. So as I mentioned, Oracle has a couple of centralized key management solutions that you can use with Oracle TDE, and we provide different solutions really to address the needs of different customers who have different requirements in this area. And this is, I should say, somewhat of an industry standard. Most of the vendors in the key management space offer key management both as an appliance and as a cloud service. And so Oracle is no different. We've got two offerings. We've got Oracle Key Vault and we've got OCI Vault. And I think it's important to understand at a high level how those are positioned relative to TDE key management. Oracle Key Vault supports on-premises databases that are running in compute. It supports databases in third-party clouds, Cloud at Customer, ADB, Cloud at Customer. And a recent support that we added is for ExaDB dedicated, and I'll talk some about the use cases for that. In terms of deployment, one is delivered as a virtual appliance, Oracle Key Vault. The other is a key service. So there's a difference there in terms of how you license the product or how you use it, what you need to deploy, and so on. Oracle Key Vault offers quite a bit of flexibility in terms of deployment. So you can deploy it on dedicated hardware. You can deploy it in compute on OCI. In fact, we've got a marketplace image that you can deploy very quickly into OCI. You can deploy it on virtual machines, and you can also deploy it in third-party clouds. So you can deploy Oracle Key Vault nodes, servers basically, in Azure and AWS. So if you're running in a multi-cloud architecture, you can have Key Vault servers that are part of a single cluster running in these different clouds. HSM, hardware security module integration is a consideration. Oracle Key Vault supports HSMs as what we call a root of trust, and we today have a number of different HSM vendors that we've worked with to provide root of trust support. And finally, hold your own key. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of talk about hold your own key as kind of a preferred model for how cloud enterprises want to manage their encrypted assets in the cloud. The idea is that they have their own keys. They can keep those on premises, manage them, keep them secret, and basically provide those keys on demand to encrypted cloud assets, including TDE databases. So both Oracle Key Vault, I should say, by default, really supports a hold your own key model for cloud computing. OCI Vault recently announced integration with TELUS Cloud Manager, CipherTrust Cloud Management. And I encourage you to take a look at the link below to learn more about that solution. So Oracle Key Vault, I should say both OCI Vault and Oracle Key Vault do a lot more than TDE Key Management. And both of these products are quite rich and have a lot of capabilities and so on. Specifically talking about Oracle Key Vault, this Oracle Key Vault supports databases. So Oracle databases also supports other databases such as MongoDB and MySQL. It's integrated with other Oracle products such as Golden Gate. We can encrypt the trail files in Golden Gate, Solaris. It supports multi-cloud sort of scenarios and deployments. And it also provides secrets management. So Oracle Key Vault allows you to store and manage much more than just encryption keys, TDE encryption keys, but you can also store wallets and key stores and passwords and other secrets in there. So Peter Wahl actually has put together some very instructive videos, which are referenced at the back of this presentation, that show, for instance, password management, storing your passwords in Oracle Key Vault. And the scenario is an administrator who's running scripts that need to log into databases and so on. They can dynamically pull those passwords from Oracle Key Vault, and it's basically sort of a lights out type of implementation. So very useful for a number of administrative functions, and I encourage you to take a look at that video. Oracle Key Vault, the way you deploy it is you can deploy it as part of a cluster. So an Oracle Key Vault cluster can support up to 16 different nodes. And there's a reason that we do this, one reason is to provide, as we say here, continuous read availability. Another reason is to ensure that that no data, particularly keys, get lost in the process of, say, onboarding a database or a key rotation or so on. So Oracle Key Vault nodes are deployed sort of pairwise. You'll have a pair of nodes. For instance, in this picture, node 1 and node 2 are deployed pairwise in what we call a synchronous pair. And if you deploy those nodes across, say, different regions or availability zones or data centers, then basically it helps to ensure that there is no data loss, no keys lost. And the reason is, like I said, these are synchronous nodes. If one database has a key update, say the database at the bottom left here, it will update that key in node 2. However, that update is not complete until it is also recorded in node 1. If for some reason it fails, like say there's a network connectivity issue or data center 1 goes offline, then that update will not be made. So in this way, we make sure that every key update is recorded on at least 2 nodes. After that happens, the data is then asynchronously duplicated out to the other nodes in the picture, nodes 3 and nodes 4. So I think you can sort of gather from this picture that if one of the nodes goes out, other surviving nodes will still stay up. As long as you've got a pairwise node up and available, you can do updates. However, any of the nodes can provide read availability. So again, high availability for the key service is paramount in our design. Cloud database integration. So let's talk a little bit about what we've done with regard to Oracle Key Vault and new features, capabilities for cloud databases. So as I mentioned, hold your own key is becoming sort of a dominant paradigm for a lot of companies in the space, where customers have exclusive control of their keys, and they keep them in their own service and manage them themselves. Oracle Key Vault requires, or I should say, cloud databases require continuously available key service and geographic distribution. And an advantage of using Oracle Key Vault with cloud databases is it provides users with the option for a single solution to provide key management across Oracle databases and really across all supported databases and encrypted assets, not just in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure, but in Azure, AWS, on-premises, cloud at customer, and so on, wherever they were running. 2 nice features of Oracle Key Vault that we believe helps facilitate the integration. One is endpoint isolation. For example, support for mutual TLS and so on between endpoints and OKV servers and between OKV nodes talking to each other. Another nice feature, which I'll just mention, and you can learn more about, is the RESTful API support. So we, a few releases back, greatly enhanced our RESTful API support to include support for a number of lifecycle management use cases. So deploying a multi-master cluster, controlling your access management, monitoring servers, and all of that sort of thing is now instrumented through available RESTful APIs that ship with Oracle Key Vault. So that again is very important in these cloud environments where we see customers really emphasize using infrastructure as code, say solutions and so on, where they're deploying whole solutions and networks and servers and data centers and so on. This helps support that kind of automation. So today, with Oracle Key Vault, you can support a number of different cloud databases. We have actually today support an integration with Exadata database Cloud at Customer. So we had manual integration available that was supported through a MOS note and available for quite a while, but now we've got integration through the control plane, and I'll show you in the next slide what that looks like. Another cloud database that we can support is ExaDBD, and you'll see a referenced MOS note here that indicates how that's supported and how you can use that. And finally, Autonomous Database Cloud at Customer is something that we've been integrated with for actually 3 years now. And we've been integrated through the control plane. Again, the integration for the Cloud at Customer database targets they look very similar, whether it's ExaDB or Cloud at Customer, and I'll show you what that looks like now. So this is the ExaDB Cloud at Customer integration. And there's really essentially 2 steps to using this and setting this up. So step 1 is you need to designate OKV, Oracle Key Vault, as a key store. So this is something that you do once in the ExaDB Cloud at Customer interface. So you name your key store, you provide pointers to the IP address and provide an administrator username. From then on, onboarding your databases is basically transparent. What you do is you select encrypt using customer managed keys, and you choose from the pull down the OKV key store that you defined in the first sort of one-time setup. So really that's all there is to it. So when you deploy a new database, or if you have an existing database in the Cloud at Customer environment, you can very easily migrate that to use Oracle Key Vault for the key management. And this picture really sort of illustrates, well, you know, what's the user need, the user requirement and benefit of having a single key service that can run across on-premises data centers as well as cloud assets. And this sort of is intended to give an idea of, you know, the different use cases and so on. Many times users might have databases, primary and standby databases, one running in the cloud and one running on premises, for example, and they need access to the same keys in the same key service. So having an OKV cluster that can be deployed across different data centers and across different cloud regions can provide that sort of unified key management solution that can be accessed from assets anywhere. So that was a very sort of fast and brief overview of Oracle Key Vault. I'd like to now talk about something that's new with Oracle Key Vault 21.7 that we're very excited about: centralized SSH key management. So if you're a cloud user at all, you're no doubt too familiar with SSH keys. And every time you spin up a virtual machine, or every time you access or create a new database in the cloud or what have you, you have to deal with SSH keys. There are some problems with the way, or I should say limitations with the way SSH keys are managed today. SSH keys are localized. And so access to SSH keys is sort of localized on the SSH server side. That means that you have multiple system admins involved effectively in the access control. each system admin that has an SSH server, they're responsible for their own access control. And as a result, since it's all local to these SSH servers, they're not necessarily updated. When people or roles change, if someone leaves the company, and you can, because of the human sort of intervention required here, a lot of human error can can creep into this situation. So that's sort of the limitation on the SSH server side. On the user side, it can get just as inconvenient. So I don't know about people on this call, but I've got a lot of SSH keys in my wallet. On my laptop, I always forget which one I used where, which ones are stale that I should get rid of, where I stored them. Some of them are in different directories and that sort of thing. And that's sort of a common problem. You can kind of very easily lose track of, as a user, of how you're managing your SSH user keys. These are localized again on your laptop. Nobody's told me to rotate any of my SSH user keys, although I know that it's a good practice to do so. However, governance is always an issue, and just sort of standardization. If you've got requirements, corporate requirements that mandate key lengths and things like that, how do you do that? So an alternative is to use Oracle Key Vault to provide SSH centralized SSH key management. So in this case, on the user side, there are organized key pairs, private public key pairs that are stored in Oracle Key Vault. And as a key administrator, you can configure and basically control what key sizes are used, how frequently keys are rotated, that basically you've got that they're backed up, basically that you've got good governance over those SSH keys. Likewise, on the server side for the SSH servers, storing SSH keys in wallets basically provides the ability to quickly add or revoke access to servers. It allows you to suspend access to servers very quickly in the case of a threat, and also track SSH access attempts. And that's something that's very important, and I'll show you an example of that in a moment. But let's back up a bit and sort of see, well, how does this work and how does this get deployed? So on the user side, if you're an SSH client, there is a one-time configuration required where a PKCS11 library is installed on the client. This is the client endpoint. And at that point, the client can basically get those SSH keys off of their server and stored centrally in Oracle Key Vault. So one way that you can do that is the key administrator can create the SSH key pair in OKV. So Oracle Key Vault supports SSH key generation. And furthermore, these can be what we call non-extractable keys. So these are keys that are kept private by never leaving the OKV boundary. So here is the interface that you'll see in Oracle Key Vault 21.7 that allows you to create a new SSH key pair for a user. And you'll see private key extractable set to false. So the idea here is that now this private key is in OKV. OKV will not send that private key externally. Any SSH operations and authorizations are basically performed inside OKV. So the way that works is you have the non-extractable private OKV key in Oracle Key Vault, and it interacts with the PKCS11 library that's on the endpoint. So here you'll see at the bottom the sort of standard SSH keygen command that you would use to basically hand off that key to the admin. So then accessing the endpoint, the SSH endpoint is quite transparent. So you use just the standard SSH command, but here we've got the additional flag, which is the -i flag. So that -i flag designates the location of the PKCS11 library that will looks like for the user. Now, there is, I'll back up a set here. It requires, there's a note here, it requires the OKV password. Okay, so these are, the SSH keys sort of by default are password protected keys. And it's very common to have a password that you provide to basically unlock those keys. However, there is a standard SSH tool that allows you to set a cache for that password. So if you use that tool, and here we've got a cache set for 14,400, which corresponds to 4 hours, basically that OKV password now that's protecting that wallet is cached for 4 hours. So then the user experience is really, accessing remote servers is really just a matter of typing your SSH command and the remote server, and you're off to the races. So the idea here is that the benefits are really twofold. One, you don't have to change any of the scripts that you're using or any of the commands that you're using. This all works with the current infrastructure, and you get the footprint of this SSH key off of the endpoint and safe and secure inside Oracle Key Vault. So that's the experience on the user side. We've added some very nice and we think useful reports in Oracle Key Vault specific for SSH private key management. Here you see an authorization report. So this answers the question, who has access? What endpoints have access to a given user's private key? So again, you can have a scenario where a user might be logging in to the same SSH server from different clients and so on. So those will have different endpoints, might have one at different data centers or different locations where I work, for example. So you can see that very easily from this report. You can also see a usage report. So this answers the question, who's access to user's private key? Again, there's really, unless you're centralizing your SSH key management, there's really no way to get at this kind of information without going to every SSH client and digging that information out of logs. So that's sort of part one. The user experience. Part two is the SSH administrator, the SSH server administrator and their experience. So what can we do to improve life for them? So in this case, you can install SSH as you can install the SSH server, a similar sort of PKCS11 library. So in this case, you install the endpoint software, and you also make some configurations to make the SSH daemon endpoint aware. So at this point, I can set up a virtual wallet in Oracle Key Vault for each SSH server. And now I can take the public key from an authorized user and place that in that server wallet. So this is an example of user John's public key in the SSH server wallet and what this looks like in the user interface for Oracle Key Vault. So you can see a wallet overview. I can set up the wallet access to designate that the Austin SSH server can access this wallet. And then I place John's public key in that wallet. So now it's very transparent and very simple for the end user, John, to access this Austin server. The end user, John, runs his SSH command that's basically orchestrated by Oracle Key Vault to provide the required authorizations during the SSH process. On the server side, on the SSH server side, the Austin server basically can transparently go out to the Austin server. Again, the SSH command stays the same. We've provided reports to answer questions like who has SSH access to which server. Again, this is a very hard thing to figure out if you don't centralize your SSH key management. Even probably more difficult to figure out who's attempted to access servers and when. Again, I don't know of any other way that you could do this without going to each of your SSH servers and digging through the logs and figuring out whether someone tried to access or not. Here, since everything's centralized in OKV, we can record all of these operations and provide you a report to show when this happens. So to summarize, there are some significant benefits of centralized SSH key management. I think the two biggest benefits. First, you can control machine access to SSH hosts across the organization. So having this control centralized makes access control much easier. You can suspend access if you got, say, someone on vacation. You can, if you're an administrator, you can very easily disable access to an SSH server for a limited amount of time just by removing that public key from the server's virtual wallet in OKV. So there's a lot of very nice things you can do with this. And I think another big advantage is the ability to enforce governance and key lifecycle management. So this really is a capability that we don't have today, with everyone sort of managing their SSH key pairs on their local clients. So just a brief word about Oracle Key Vault. Oracle Key Vault is a very successful product for us in terms of the number of customers using it today and some of the use cases we're seeing. A major international insurance company is using it today for thousands of databases and multiple clusters in different locations. We have working most recently with a multi-state gas pipeline operator. They're using Oracle Key Vault for their Exadata Cloud at Customer databases, and they're currently running all of their OKV cluster in VMs in OCI, which is interesting. And then finally, a large multinational bank is in the process of migrating 7,500 Oracle databases into Exadb Cloud at Customer. And so they're working in this engagement. Currently, as they migrate these databases, they're automatically enrolling those databases into Oracle Key Vault to provide the key management. So I hope this has sparked your interest in Oracle Key Vault and some of the things that you can do with it. We have a lot of assets that you can access to learn more about Oracle Key Vault. As Rich said earlier, a great place to start is LiveLabs. So we've got a very nice LiveLabs that will teach you how to use Oracle Key Vault to distribute, protect your keys. We'll be expanding that LiveLab very soon to also show you how you can do this SSH key management with Oracle Key Vault. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And at this point, Rich, I will stop sharing.
Thanks, Michael. All right, everybody. We are going to have Q&A after this, but please join us next month on November 9th. So second Wednesday of the month comes fairly early in November. We're going to be talking about Audit Vault and Database Firewall at that point. So join us then.